Hi everyone, my name is ICC. First off, shout out to Hell on Wheels for showing me the OBS software. Um, I've decided to start making a video series on how predictive programming books relate to our current situation now. It's my first video, so let's see where it goes. And today I'm talking about the top 10 terms from George Orwell's 1984 novel and how they relate to our current situation. And so, I guess without further ado, I'll get started. So the first is um, Newspeak. That's the official language of the Oceania and the party. And this is a dumbed down vocabulary. And you can see this today in people who have restricted grammar and say things that aren't really the definition of the word, or they change the definition of the word to where, like, there's phrases that are similar but different, and people can't really elaborate on what they're actually thinking very well because they don't really structure sentences together, and it keeps your ideas as elementary as possible. And also, for the media that people consume, it seems all they can talk about is their TV shows and stuff they hear on the news, and there's a lack of critical thinking there. Um, it reduces the words of the English language in general. Second is war is peace, freedom is slavery, English is strength, which is, we have a very inverted society today. And you'll see it with, like, give up your rights so you can be safer. You'll be more free if you give up your rights. Ignorance is strength. Vulnerability is strength is a huge one they push. And also, um, subconsciously making people hate each other by saying you need to be the best and promoting narcissism and saying that love basically is hate, or in the sense of, like, you tell someone the truth, it's abusive, something they don't want to hear, someone's offended by it, like it makes them right. But if you tell someone something that will potentially hurt them, but it makes them feel better, then it's promoted as doing a good thing. Third is English socialism. This is promoted hugely today. You see the Socialist Party, everyone's saying we all need to be equal. And as um, who I consider a mentor on waking me up as far as really explaining to me the New World Order and all the things that are going on in our society, is Jeff C. Who would elaborate on equality is not necessarily a good thing. Because if we're all, communism is equal. If we're all under socialism and everyone's considered the same, and we all have to be um, treated the same, if we're all treated horribly, if like a boot under our thumb basically, or being stepped on by the government, then we're all equal, but we're all equally oppressed. Um, Four is thought crime. It's any unacceptable statement or views that go against the party's dogma. Now, if you have a YouTube channel or you've been banned from Facebook, you've seen this entirely where if you think something that is against the government's agenda, or if you think something is contrary to the political state or popular view, you'll get censored immediately. And also, it could even be considered hate speech to talk about the people we're not supposed to talk about. The actual designs, or things the Vatican does, or if you have evidence and you put it on there, it's something they want to talk about, you're getting censored because it's offensive and could be a hate crime. Anyway, then there's Hate Week. And this type of psychological warfare the Ministry of Hate utilizes throughout nationalism. Now, you can always say we have a hate K through 12, where in history it's like, oh, the big bad communist Russia, learned about the Cold War, which is this divide and conquer tactics between the Russian people and the Americans, um, hate of China, basically labeling people or labeling the whole country of Chinese citizens as communists when really the Chinese citizens are oppressed by their own government. But yet somehow we buy stuff from China and have them make our things for us, but they're evil ones. So you can really see at the top with the they all work together, but we're supposed to hate them. And then there's doublethink, which is people accept two contradicting views sanctioned by the party as correct and acceptable. And you can see this such as the Democrats, and I'm not saying we should support Republicans because Democrats are bad. No, it's a left and right hand of the same beast. It's all evil. We got to get out of that paradigm of thinking where it's got to be one party or the other. But for instance, you'll see people that say we need to save the environment by killing people to because we're polluting the planet to save animals, or violence is wrong. We shouldn't have a ability to defend ourselves or our own guns. but it's okay to abort your baby and kill your own child. Um, and so it's contradictory things. And if you bring up that evidence, it'll or try to explain rationally. It's post-cognitive dissonance, which causes people to freak out and yell, and a lot of people just can't have a civil conversation about these things. And there's the prole, which is the brainwashed masses. I give them about 85% of the population. They're all living in poverty, and they're docile after years being mentally conditioned by the party, and often live in poverty. And so you can see that these people they pair what the news tells them. They'll listen to the elites or someone with a title, like an official says, an expert says, and they can't really think critically about the evidence. But they just accept it as fact without thinking about it. And you'll have this happen when you'll bring evidence to someone that contradicts what an official says. And it goes to it's not who's saying something, it's what's being said. But to these people, it's exactly who's saying something, and they don't care about what's being said because whoever said it has a high level of status. Or you'll see it in the people who believe whatever a celebrity says because they have a lot of money or they're famous. And yeah, but they don't really actually analyze what's being said. Eight is the obliteration of the self, and you can see this today, and we're all in this together. Just wear your masks because you're protecting everybody. You'll get morally safer. Um, at the We Are All One pushing things in the Buddhism, the One World Government Plan by Agenda 2030. It's going to have no self-identity, but at the same time, it's almost like with Anonymous and all these psyops, like QAnon. It's like, oh well, we're joining this revolution and we're a part of something that's bigger and it's anti-establishment, but really, uh, it's like Alex Jones, for instance, right? We're like, you'll follow him and he'll say some truth and then a bunch of lies. So things are crazy, but people will say it's like, oh, well, he's telling all the truth because it goes back to like that CNN mentality or CBS, where like you start just blindly believing everything that the person you're following tells you. It just goes into like kind of the idol worship where you start believing everything someone says because you believe they're always right. No one's right 100% of the time, so you got to keep your thinking cap on. And you condition to view your freedom as selfish now. So if contrary to all the evidence for like the masks, for instance, that they don't prevent the spread of a virus and that asymptomatic is not a real thing, um, because your TV tells you it is, people will believe it, even though it doesn't make logical sense. Um, Nine is Big Brother, which is a tyrannical police state or central figure of authority. And you could say this is our current day elites, the bankers, everyone who runs our media, who tells you what you can and can't do, and they're always watching you, right? So it's like the Gestapo in 1940s Germany, or late 30s, 1940s, where like they were the secret police, and so everyone was afraid of they were watching them all the time, and they put this image out there, and that they were so prolific, and but they really couldn't monitor what everyone was doing because there's not enough people to do so. But just the fear, it's the whole fear and control thing where they have people so scared of the government that it's like a Stockholm syndrome where like people like kind of they respect these people in power, but at the same time like they really fear them, but they don't even realize it. Like they'll modify what they say, so they're scared of what's going to happen to them, or how do I put it? Uh, like people hate the system. Like I hate Trump because it's horrible, but I like Biden, or I like Biden because he's Democrat, but really both Biden and Trump are horrible people and they're just puppets. But it's like you get to the point of where these people will now, like the middle class has been wiped out, right? And where now everyone's now depending on the government. So this kind of going to another ramp, but it's the destruction of making people being or letting people be self-sufficient. And once the middle class is wiped out, it's going to make everyone dependent on the government. But nobody actually had to close their doors to their business or any of that because it's never passed legislation. But people do whatever their TV tells them. So now people are begging for the government to give their lives back because no one really knows how to be self-sufficient anymore. Well, the majority doesn't know how to be self-sufficient. And yeah, I mean, we just can't let these people win, man. And so this novel was made in like the 40s or 50s, and whether there's predictive programming or not, it shows you what they've been doing. And one of the main things about it that's interesting to me is they're looking for like these secret like, or they're trying to like basically find an alliance. A man meets this woman, and they come together, and then they get like messaged by a guy who's saying like, "Yeah, I'm rich, but like I'm part of it." You know, the alliance against the government. And it turns out they get put in FEMA camps, and the guy was just like a shill for lack of better terms, who like turned them in after they were trying to go against what Big Brother was doing, and so they get tortured until they follow the narrative. And it almost reminded me of like say like trusting like someone who's like owned by CBS or CNN, like Alex Jones, and Alex Jones is like, yeah, like we're anti-establishment, we're blah blah blah, and then you go in there and you get turned in for trying to go against the government because they basically lied to you, and it's almost like that, but mentally, where like you'll follow Alex Jones and it'll lead you down a rabbit hole that's not true, but like he'll think he's a resistance, but he's not. So it's keeping the people away from truth. Um, Anyways, God bless everyone and their families, and thank you. Have a great day. Hope you enjoyed the video.